late June, early July 1992, all the way up to Halloween, October 31st, 1999. We're talking Doco's Family Restaurant.
The years go by, but the memory stays, and those were the good old days.
Thank you so much for going down memory lane with me. Let me take you back to a particular time at Doco's and tell you a story that just nearly almost got me fired. I worked day shift back in 1996, at this particular time, 1996. Let me just say that Doc was, and Mark, was a big Cleveland Browns fan. Of course, back then, in 1996, the Houston Oilers were still a franchise there in Houston because they hadn't gone into the Tennessee Titans yet there. So this was 1996. Pittsburgh Steelers were big back then. Of course, Pittsburgh has always been a rivalry with the Cleveland Browns. It's always been a real rivalry that dates back to many years. And a guy who worked there at Doco's, their cook or manager, Johnny Norris, he was a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan. And nonetheless, it was a time that in 1996 where the Steelers were better than the Browns. As a matter of fact, the Steelers went to the Super Bowl that year in 1996. Didn't win it, but went to the Super Bowl that year. And their defense was so good that they compared it somewhat to similar to the late or the early 70s there, in that 70s span there with Terry Bradshaw. And back then, of course, they called the defense the Steel Curtain. Because not many offenses could score on the Steelers' defensive squad back then. So it was Steel Curtain, they called it back then. Well, nonetheless, like I said, it was just I had worked over, working 7 to 3. I worked over maybe in a half hour, 45 minutes or so, getting a little bit of cleanup and doing a little bit of rest of the dishes. And I went out, snuck out to the marquee, took off what was on one side and put on there, "Beware of the Steel Curtain. Go Steelers." I walked in there, Johnny, and because Mark and Sean had dared me to do that. By the way, they had dared me to do that. So I went. My cousin Sean, of course. I went in there and I went out there and did it because they dared me to do it. I come back in. I told Johnny Norris. I said, "John," I said, I went ahead and changed the special out there on the marquee. He looked up. He's like, "Oh shit." He's like, "That's cool, man. That's cool." Next day I was off, and I come in the day after that for work. Took about a day or so, but Doc come up to me, and because I hadn't seen Doc that particular day, I think Doc went golfing that particular day, or either golfing or he was doing something or another that kept him away from the restaurant during that particular day, or maybe that was one of Doc's days off, where Doc took a couple of days during the week, maybe 1 or 2 days during the week, and he took off, or took away to just basically stay at home, sleep in, or do whatever he had to do, and let Mark run the show, which is like I said, one or 2 days a week, to make his pies, whatever. But anyway, Doc told me, he says, "Hey," I said, "What?" He goes, "I ought to fire your ass." I said, "What?" I said, "What are you talking about, Doc?" He goes, "You know what I'm talking about." He said, we were dead in here. I think it was a Wednesday or Thursday. So we were dead in here. We'll say it's Thursday. He said we were dead in here Thursday morning, and he said, it got to the point where I was wondering what the hell was going on. He said customers came in and the next day and told me that they thought I went and turned traitor. He goes, "Put beware of the Steel Curtain, go Steelers on my fucking marquee out there." He says, "How the hell you expect them to get customers to come in there?" He goes, "You're taking away money. He goes, "You're basically people not making money here because you put something stupid like that on the fucking marquee." He says, "What the hell's wrong with you?" I said, "I don't know, Doc." I said, just did it as a joke." He goes, "A joke?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well," he goes, "I guess that's a little bit of payback for me talk about you and Fred being fags. He goes, I guess I can't see anything going. He goes, but don't ever do it again. He goes, because if you do it again, he goes, I'll fire your ass. He goes, I guarantee you that. We got a chuckle out of it there for a little bit, and like I said, it was just funny to actually look outside and see. Or after I got done, I stood there for a good 30 seconds or a minute, looking at the marquee that read, "Beware of the steel curtain. Go Steelers," on the right-hand side of the marquee. If you were standing directly in front of it, or directly on the sidewalk and looking straight up at it, on the right or left-hand side rather, facing toward Lincoln Way West, towards the Clark station. Many of you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but some of you probably do. Facing that way, it said, "Beware of the steel curtain. Go Steelers." And looking back on that now, that was one of those real funny times where I screwed with the marquee. And I'm sure, looking back on it now, and it was just one of those times that I enjoyed, knowing that I screwed with that marquee. Thank you so much for going down memory lane with me. I'll catch you next time.